Hey you guys, it's Mandy from This Lovely Path. And the last few weeks, it seems like a lot of the boards I'm on Facebook, a lot of the history groups or homeschooling groups I'm part of are asking questions. Everyone's seeking out really good history curriculum. And I'm sure there are a lot of great ones out there, but I have used several and I was never super content with any of them. And so what I did was I started doing my own history. And basically, it's really easy. When you say come up with your own history curriculum with living books, people kind of panic. And I totally get that because I did it first too. But I'm telling you, it is really easy. And in the 5 or so history curriculums we've tried to use, we have never enjoyed history like we did when I was choosing our own pulling our own books, our own stuff together. So I'm going to show you guys just a quick outline of what we did last year that I pulled together myself, and I'm going to try to explain how we did that. It's really simple, and the kids enjoy it. They learn more. I feel like it's a more living approach. We're not just trying to memorize dates and facts. We're actually getting into the history of the whys and hows, and I think that's so much more interesting and captivating to a child and to the parent. So I'm going to flip this around and show you guys my quick outline. Okay, so last year for American history, we had done the early American history through a few different, I switched several times, through a few different curriculum companies. None of them worked very well. So I finally was like, forget this. Last year I decided to do our own. So we had already reached the 1800s. So this was my quick outline for what we were going to study from the 1800s to modern times. Now, don't look at this and get overwhelmed. If you are not a good history student and you don't know this stuff, it's really simple to just go online and find a timeline overview of important events from whatever time period you are studying. So you can just make a simple sketch. So from the 1800s through modern times, now when I say modern times, we actually only came up through World War II. This was my list. So I knew I wanted to touch on these subjects: Lewis and Clark, Gold Rush, War of 1812, Westward Expansion, and the Oregon Trail. Within that, you could do a Native American study, Trail of Tears stuff, Civil War, Industrial Revolution, and in that I wanted to make sure I included some of the disasters that had happened around that time period, like the Titanic, Hindenburg, Chicago Fire, World War I, the Great Depression and Dust Bowl, and World War II. And what I did was I made an outline like this, and then I simply researched good books. Something really easy to do is get on Amazon, find a book, depending on your child's age and grade level, find a book, read the reviews. Once you've found a good one, those suggestion bars down under that product are fabulous for finding more resources on the same thing. So I have students from elementary to high school, including junior high. So I needed to have a wide variety of books. I do a lot of read alouds, and then I have my kids doing individual books on their own. And then we have, books that are more project oriented. And so some of this, now obviously you could just go through and break down how you wanted to do this if you're a real planner and you wanted to sketch that all out ahead of time and say you're going to spend, a month on this and 2 weeks on this. And I mean, War of 1812, really, you only need a few days to cover that. And just kind of break it down that way as to what you want to cover more, or you could just wing it. Just start at one, have the materials prepped for the next one when you move into that. And that way you get to spend as long as you want on each item, knowing that you want to wrap up with whatever your last thing is on your list by the end of the year. I don't stick to firm timelines just because that's how I operate. So this is just a brief overview of what you could do in the 1800s through World War II. Now, obviously, there's more. Some people might be more interested in one subject than another. And depending on where you are in history, you can do this at any point. You could take this and do an ancients, and then find the main events that you want to cover and sketch them out in a somewhat order of, so like obviously the Industrial Revolution was happening kind of from the 1800s through the early 1900s. So, but I decided to touch on this one at the end of the 1800s because we go from the Civil War to World War I in the 19 teens, and there was kind of a gap there. So that was a good place to do this. Plus, this is the time period when a lot of the big stuff was happening and a lot of the big names. So I stuck that there. Now, we also make timelines. So we have a timeline on the wall, and as we go through each thing, we just add it. You can certainly get books from the library to make this really affordable. Just have it figured out what you're going to need a week or two ahead of time. Have those books on hold. For me, I usually get so many library finds, I find it cheaper just to buy the books used. So a lot of these are books that I've just found at sales and book sales and homeschool sales that I'll just grab, and I know that at some point I'll use that later. I'm just going to show you a brief little glimpse of my history shelf. So I have this in chronological order. So I have Ancients and Middle Ages, and then American history. This is the earlier stuff, so this is not stuff we did last year. Starting about here, yes, right here, we go through my events that I just had on that piece of paper I showed you guys. So we start at Lewis and Clark, War of 1812, Gold Rush, westward expansion, Oregon Trail. We get into Civil War. We move on to some of the Indian stuff that was happening. Industrial Revolution, I have a book here, and I have a bunch of books on some of the big names during the Industrial Revolution. World War I, and then we get into the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, and move on to World War II. So really simple. I probably never paid full price for a single one of these books. So that's an easy way to do that. Something else to do and make sure that you include are projects. Kids thrive on projects. I'm not a huge crafty person, and it sometimes really takes some effort on my part to put something together. But your kids really will appreciate your effort to include some projects here and there. Homeschooling in the Woods, I believe, is the company. I'll write it below in case that's wrong. They have lap book things. I don't know why it's not in here. I'm seeing if I have it in here. They have like CD-ROMs that you can print some stuff out. Those are great. Picking up little things. This year we're doing ancient studies. So, you know, these are those that we're right now in ancient Egypt. These are those little tube things. They come in these things. Those are great. I picked this up on Amazon for, I want to say like $10, maybe less. And the kids unearthed this out of a huge thing of like clay chalk stuff. And they got to chisel that out, making pyramids out of these little brick things. There's just simple projects you can do to kind of enhance the history portion that you are on at the moment. So I strongly encourage that, especially as your kids are younger, including more hands-on stuff, doing feasts from the time period. If you're in the Great Depression, look up Great Depression meals. Make one of those for your dinner one night. See how everybody likes it. Talk about what that would look like to have that as your meal every day. If you're in the ancient times, like we are, I plan on doing a meal with figs and grapes and just stuff that they would have eaten in those time periods. Stuff like that makes it really come alive. It makes it simple. You guys, doing your own homeschool curriculum for history does not need to be difficult. It's really simple. I have this basket here right now. We're doing ancient Egypt. This is my basket of stuff we are currently using. So I just have a project book with projects in it. I have read alouds. I have books that my kids are reading on their own. Just different things. Timeline book. These Evan Moore pockets are great. Just stuff to keep it active. And I think that as you read living books and are learning this stuff from biographies and fun books, your kids are going to retain it more. And if you're using any sort of timeline, whether that's a Charlotte Mason Book of Century style whether that's a timeline on your wall, maybe it's a notebook that your kid simply every day writes, that you do history, writes what year something happened in and just one little detail or a picture. Stuff like that really helps them kind of piece together how it all connects. So that's how I do my own history unit study curriculum. Like I said, we have used other stuff. In fact, right now I'm kind of using very, very lightly Mystery of History as just more of a outline as to what to do when. And I'm turning that into unit study. And I can go a little bit further into how I'm using Mystery of History specifically in that way, if you guys would like me to. But American history, I didn't use anything as a spine. I just winged it and it worked wonderfully. So let me know if you have any questions and I'll try to answer them. Thanks for watching.